Welcome, Claudia, to the Sacred Roots podcast. I'm really happy to have you as a guest today on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
So, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself and share with my girls, my audience, who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So I'm a business and leadership coach, and I help women find their voice, say what they truly want to say, and share it with the world. So I help a lot of business women and entrepreneurs really get their message out into the world and really make money with it. And my clients now have been in business for a while, so they come on a spectrum. So I help women who are really at the beginning of figuring out what they truly want to say, what their purpose is, or I help women who are already advanced in business and leadership that want to reach that next level in the business of visibility, money, wealth, just authenticity, truth, alignment, and just living a life and running a business that's true to them.
Hmm. And what's been your journey? When did you realize, oh, this is who I came here to be? This is what I'm meant to do?
Yeah. So I like to say that my credential is that I have an Ivy League PhD, but really I have a PhD in finding my voice. And I remember when I was dating my now ex-husband, we were already in couples therapy. And at one point I was having an individual session with the therapist. And I remember telling her, this was like more than 10 years ago, I remember telling her I was already teaching at a university and I was like, this is not what I'm meant to do. I know there's these words that keeps coming back and the word is voice. I don't know what that means, but it's about voice. It has to be about voice. So really that word came to me. It wasn't something that I chose, but then looking back, then I decided to listen to that voice that told me that my word was voice. And when I work with clients, I walk them through an exercise of really finding their word as well. And I just followed that path. And it took a few years of unfolding. And then I got to the other side and it became the creative practice of actually building a business based on voice and forgetting that it looked like I had a voice as a professor, as an accomplished academic that was invited to speak at very prestigious universities. It looked like I had a public voice. I was speaking all the time. And I realized that that wasn't it. There was something else that wanted to be born out of me that was more embodied, less intellectual. It was more about truth instead of sharing interesting ideas that someone else came up with.
I love that. I love that. And so when women come to you and they are disconnected from their truth, how do you help them reconnect with their truth?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, you have to be okay with it being a process because there's programming that told women, all of us, that it's not safe to have our truth. It's not safe to share our truth because when we were kids, when we were little girls, we did have a truth. We were connected to it. We spoke up. We expressed it, not just in words, but we were playful. We were in touch with life force. So your truth is your life force. Your voice is your life force. And then that got shut down very early on. So and then we became hyper masculine. Then we became successful in the conventional way. So we have to realize that that got shut down. That the truth is there, the voice is there, it didn't go anywhere. You do have it, you do have a story, you do have a message. Everything is already in there, but there's a barrier because you don't feel safe in your body and your nervous system sharing it. So it's really about peeling back the layers. The first step is all about peeling back the layers and developing the safety within. Then it's about figuring out what it is that you want to say and how to translate it into a cohesive message that makes sense for people, that people can receive and be transformed by. So, but it all starts with like being willing to be on the journey.
I love that. And on this journey, do you then also reconnect them with their inner child and their younger self when they actually had that truth?
Yeah, I do a lot of inner child work. I've done a lot of inner child work, and it's something that I offer as an option to my clients as well. And I, at the beginning of my business, I did more work one-on-one with clients in terms of like, okay, let's develop nervous system safety and that kind of stuff. That's something that's shifting in my work. It's probably going to be more about courses teaching you how to do that. Now, when I work one-on-one with clients, it's more like the active part of like, okay, what's the voice? How do we put it out there? How do we make a lot of money with that? Because the creative piece of voice is also, if it feels aligned to you, you can make a lot of money in your business once you create the business structure and ecosystem that's aligned with your voice. Whether you want to do courses or one-on-one coaching or signature talks and be a speaker, right? Once you're tapped in, you can really create the business structure that allows you to make a lot of money, and it all feels in flow, it all feels in alignment. So it's yeah, we do inner child work. It's something that I always promote because it has been so transformational for
Yeah.
me to reclaim the lost little girl who had a lot of life and was shut
Yes.
down.
Could you expand more on that relationship between finding your voice and becoming a magnet for money?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I love talking about that because, I feel like, finding your voice is great, but it's almost like, what do we do once we find it?
Yeah.
And I'm living from that place, right? So that's why I say, like, I will have, they're in the process of being created, courses and more like, master classes on finding the voice. But then, like, what happens once you find it? Once you feel safe in your body to just be yourself, speak up when you need to, don't say anything when it's not necessary, have boundaries, feel really connected with life and in the flow of life, what happens is that you become magnet for everything that you desire.
Hmm.
So really that's when manifestation really starts to work. If you're willing to play that game. I was always for that because I've always been a high achiever and I had to renegotiate that. I had to acknowledge that who was who I was, but what does it mean to be a high achiever with a voice and being more embodied, being more in my feminine, not because I was seeking external validation or some titles or whatever. You can manifest if you're willing to dream big. You can manifest and create whatever you really want, and you can create it with more ease. And you become a magnet because you're aligned for what you want, whether it is like the love of your life, the family, moving to your dream location, or the business of your dreams, the team of your dreams, and more money than you can ever imagine. And I think this is really, and I know you work along these lines too, in terms of like, yes, this is for our own individual well-being, but this is also for changing the collective because we need more women with more money who do different things
Absolutely.
with money.
I love what you shared because I'm also an energy healer, and so I understand the energetics that are happening when we step into our true self. And when
Yeah.
you find your voice, it's like you unlock something, and suddenly
Yeah.
your radiance start to be expressed, and that radiance that we might not see with the eye, but that we feel with the body, we start to have people that are drawn to us, that are
Yeah.
magnetized to us. And there's really like a strong relationship between those manifestation abilities and us being aligned with who we really are. And when we think about it, the word spelling is also talking about that, because
Mm.
talking is a way of casting spells. There's a lot of power when you speak
Yeah.
your truth, when you speak what you desire, when you express it. And in human design, they teach it as well, that the throat is one of the center for
Mhm.
manifestations. So I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up, because in the
And with the, yeah.
no, I just wanted to say, because in the end, it does create a really big difference for you. But as women, we're always looking at each other, right? And so it also about giving permission to others to also start using their voice.
And then I have a membership and we have a lot of conversations in there around the right people want you to use your voice.
Yes.
It's actually, they're sad if you don't share your truth, which was such a paradigm shift for me. The people who love you want to hear your truth. It doesn't have to be always palatable. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be always conscious. They want you to be fully self-expressed.
Yes,
And it's such so mind-blowing once you step into that place.
absolutely.
But going along with what you were saying about the spelling, so I do a lot of work. I think my work in business is different because, and I had to transform myself to be able to hold space for this kind of work, is that, we kind of like see two poles. I do a lot of work with my clients around marketing and sharing content and content that feels true to them, that's innovative, that's a true expression of their voice, but also understandable to other people, not too fluffy or too clinical. And the way we see this content marketing or marketing talked about online, it's very prescriptive, right? You need to have the call to action, or you need to like have certain words and certain hooks and like that. I don't know, but like for me it doesn't work that way. I need to be fully self-expressed. I can't follow some rules, especially for my art, which is writing and expressing and creating. And so I think I have a new paradigm that I teach around this, where we both source the words that want to come out of my clients that are authentic. They can be as crazy and woo and fluffy as they want, but we need to find the real words that are there. And then there's a way to add a little bit of containment and direction and focus so that they can also land. They're not just like super abstract. And that's when you find this balance, that's when the magic truly happens. That's when you also generate your tribe. That's when you find your niche, because you have the courage to be the niche and be fully self-expressed.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I feel like as we try to find our voice and find our gifts and express ourselves and then start serving with our voice, we can really easily get stuck into the strategies and, oh, this is how I have to show up, and this is the amount of emails I need to send, and this is how they need to be
Yeah.
phrased, and da, 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 da. And no, that's not really how it works,
No.
because if you actually do that, you're going to limit your true expression, and it's your energy that sells, and words are energy. And so if you find, indeed, just like you're saying, the right words that are what you really want to say and how you want to express it, people are going to feel it. And it doesn't really matter if you didn't follow the strategies or anything, because it's about the energy and how you make people
Yeah.
feel when you write, because people,
Yeah, and it's so sad to see when people do all the right things and nothing happens in their business. It's
yeah,
exactly because of what you're saying. And if you're tuned into your creative expression, which is your voice, then also you build capacity
yeah,
for sharing more, promoting more, talking about your sacred offerings more, because that's what you want to do, not because some business coach told you to do that.
yeah,
And it's maybe a little bit of a longer process, but then this really creates sustainability in your business, because you're always connected to yourself, and then you build a community with the right people who are interested in you as a leader, not just in because you can help them with content marketing, or you can help them lose 10 pounds or whatever, right? Because I in yeah, because there's that fine line where, like, yes, I'm going to help you achieve something, right? But it's because you're a channel, and it's because of who you're being, that your clients work with you, not because of you follow some template or you help them with something external.
yeah. I love that, because it really comes back to that authentic expression of who you really
Yeah.
are, just expressed through the channel of the voice, through the channel of the words, through the channel of maybe, also movement or dance, really. So how do you guide women? Do you have a practical exercise that you could take us through to help women really connect with their authentic voice and their words?
With their authentic voice and their words. Well, I love kind of like, the boring word would be mind mapping.
Mm,
But like, I love to really like block out. So this is the suggestion I would give. This is the practical exercise that I would give to the women listening, is that find a really large piece of paper. And if you have, even if you have to go through the process of taping some together, do that. It's kind of like almost like woving things together, right? The tapestry of the words that want to come through you. And then make it really big, kind of like sit on it, right? Become one with it, and then start writing words that are coming to you. Whether you want to find the word that's supposed to be the framework of your message, like voice came to me, or you want to find the words that you want to use in your content or in your talk. Start just writing, see what comes through. And sometimes it's not even words, sometimes it's scribbles, sometimes it's painting or drawing something, sometimes it's lines, sometimes you want to move your body, right? Make it a full body experience. And my clients, especially the higher level clients who've been on this path for a while, they surrender to this process. Right? And they're like, because that's where you find your unifying principles, like the words that speak of you, the words that you need to use in your content, the words that identify you. So what I like to say, for instance, with voice, I don't want to be known as another business coach. There's a million out there. They're very skilled. I'm not playing that game. I'm not in that category. I'm not just one of many. I'm one of one. And I could potentially teach anything, but people know me as voice, the voice chick or whatever, right? Because, through my voice, I manifested, an incredible business. I manifested, moving to different countries and moving to my dream location. I manifested the love of my life, which was not how my life was even just like 4 years ago. So I could teach. I manifested, a lot of money through my business, but through my alignment as well. So I'm known as voice, and then I can teach everything that's around it, right? All the different entry points to voice, and because voice really influences every aspect of your life. But I'm saying this to tell the listeners that my business is a model of what your business could look like, with an ecosystem that's really a reflection of your voice. And so by doing this embodied exercise of seeing which words want to come through you, even if it's like grunts at the beginning, doesn't even have to be verbal expression.
Yeah.
This actually might be also a good exercise that I do a lot in my containers. I call it bubbling up, because there's a lot of muck that gets in the way, especially for women, in the way of a natural expression.
Yeah.
Especially if we're not used to that. So sometimes, if I were to ask someone to just like say what's on their mind, they would say like some victim-y stuff, right? We've all been there, or like complaining about like having to clean the house, or like having to schedule a doctor's appointment, right? There's a lot of like victimhood and complaining that's sometimes in the way of our voice. And so first of all, we need to acknowledge that, because then otherwise we resist it, and then it's a mess. So we need to let it out. So with the bubbling up, what I tell my clients is like, for a month, or even starting for 2 weeks, just for 5 or 10 minutes every morning, just wake up and start talking and see what wants to come through. And it's so hard. It's the exercise that everyone hates, but it's the most transformative one.
I love that.
And at the beginning, there'll be maybe like victim-y stuff, or complaining stuff, right? Or like, oh my God, my leg hurts, or whatever, right? And then like, but if you keep at it, then that stuff gets processed, and then you'll access your deepest truth, and you'll really see what's there.
I love that. It's basically a talking meditation,
Yeah.
right? Because when you meditate, you also connect with everything that is alive, and you allow it to be there and to bubble up. And then once you've looked at
Yeah.
it, it goes away, and then you connect with the deeper stuff.
Yeah.
I love that. Amazing.
And then you find also your message, because you might think that your message is if you think just rationally about it or logically, and it may be like, the women who come to me, they've been in business for a while, they know the traditional business advice. And they're like, they even know how to put together a post or how to put together a message that works. I help statements and that kind of stuff. And but if you do this exercise, you find the message that really wants to come through
Mm.
you, which might not be what you think logically that
Yeah.
it needs to be.
Yeah. And do you feel that your message, your voice, your tone of voice also evolves and is meant to evolve with time?
Hmm. That's a great question. And probably it's so funny because when I was little, this still happens today. I had to move to the US from Italy to to find my voice because in Italy, literally no one could understand what I was saying.
Mm.
Like I was speaking very low in a very low tone, kind of like eating my words. It still happens when I speak Italian. I speak very fast. But it was very distressing growing up because I was like, no one could see me. And then I developed a very low tone of voice. And in English, sometimes people might not understand my accent, but especially nowadays, people understand me. I never had that experience of, oh, I can't hear a loved one telling me I can't understand what you're saying. So there was definitely a language shift there and definitely a tone shift as well, because probably I started speaking with more confidence because almost I had the opportunity to fashion myself from scratch. And I think it probably would change. I'm trying to think about different scenarios where, sometimes what comes up for me is that women sometimes often they identify if they're in a more collapsed state, they might identify if I ask a client, what do you think you're good at? And if it's a woman, they usually tell me, I'm a good listener, I'm really caring, right? And really understanding. And I'm like, I'm sure you're really good at these things and they're amazing qualities. But I think you are different from that
Yeah.
because those are the qualities that are socially acceptable for a woman to embody, right? So I wonder if with those qualities, a specific tone of voice that also, is manifest, that's maybe like more quiet and subdued that it needs to be.
Hmm.
Or the opposite of that could be someone with a very loud voice. And of course, I'm not here to censor women's voices at all, but I feel like that there's different expressions of voicelessness. And sometimes it's like we're too quiet, our voice is too soft. Or sometimes we're too loud because we have this anxiety that no one is hearing us. So we need to occupy all the verbal space, right? And it might sound counterintuitive, but also if you find yourself in social interactions that you're always trying to fill the space, that you're like speaking very fast and you don't even remember what you're saying, right? That's also an expression of voicelessness. So I do think that there's grounded quality to having a voice that probably leads to a more even tone
Hmm.
and deeper maybe as well.
Yeah. And probably as we also, release the layers, let go of the conditioning, we find more and more of our voice and our unique
Yeah.
expression. But then we also get the opportunity to evolve through life, because I help my clients a lot to connect with their purpose and their unique gifts. But that purpose can also evolve, but not every 2 months, obviously,
Yeah.
but every 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. If you are fully complete in your mission, in your purpose, in who you came here to be, it can evolve. And so I am seeing how that could be connected to then your voice, your message evolving as
Yeah.
your soul
And
evolves.
and I wonder, I think about this a lot because, it's, as you say, when you're connected, then you evolve all the time.
Yeah.
And your business needs to evolve with you.
Yeah.
And, from a business strategy perspective, I teach my clients to let the business evolve, right? Because you cannot stifle that, otherwise it doesn't work, or it works for a little bit and then you burn out. But to build, I like the metaphor of the tree, to really build an ecosystem where you kind of like expand. Let's say you find your purpose day one of finding your purpose, and then you start building a business based on that. It's almost like you build the foundations or the trunk, and then as you evolve, it kind of like grows into a beautiful tree.
Mm,
And of course, you can walk away from the previous version of your business. But what I find to be true also in my business and with my clients, it's really about a deepening and an expanding of what's already there, which is also very convenient from a business model perspective because, and from a wealth perspective, because you get to stack the cash, right? You get to create maybe like what used to be a one-on-one offer, then it becomes an evergreen course so that you can just like keep making money from what worked in the past, almost passively, and then build a new on top of that so that you become the leader of a forest of beautiful offerings that are all true to you, that allows you to evolve in a beautiful way while you get richer and richer, and not just for the purpose of just getting money, but like you just get to feel more and more secure in what you're building. And the bigger it is, the more influence you get to have, if that feels like the right path for
I
you.
love that. So instead of being a CEO, you end up being a forest keeper.
Yeah, you're a forest, right? Or you're like a tree. You are the tree.
Yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful metaphor.
Yeah.
Amazing. And do you find also that for women who are trying to reconnect with their voice, like doing practical exercises of warming up your voice before doing a podcast or before going on a call with a client actually helps you
Yeah.
to connect more with your truth and what wants to come through during a session?
I'm sure it helps. It's not work that I do just because it's not my background
Yeah.
I'm actually, my partner and I want to start singing lessons, and maybe that will be something that I'll add in. I think I feel more called to like really dancing and really embodying the
Mm,
voice and embodying the message, just because I am a dancer and I had a journey also of eating disorders and a journey with my body. So it's more about like embodying the voice than sounding the voice, if, for me at this stage, right? Also because it's not my area of expertise.
okay.
But I know a lot of people who really do that. And I do a lot of work with my clients really on the embodiment piece,
Mhm.
and then really the clarity of message, because it's really like I was born with the gift of marketing, which blows my mind, but I could sell anything. I could figure out a way to talk about anything and sell it. And so it's really my sacred gift. It's really like the portal that was given to me to help my people find the words, put the words together, share the words, and build that confidence to be more and more visible, to stand in your truth and let the people come to you instead of like shrinking. We talk a lot about what I call shrinkage. When we have the expansion, when we feel the movement towards creating, towards hearing our voice, towards doing the live stream, and then we shrink back, right? So how
Mhm.
do we build that capacity to not shrink back? So I've really found a way to use my natural gifts to help other women evolve. And then it's about, of course, we start with marketing and content, then we move on to business and business model, but then it's really about the wealth ecosystem, but really about building the life that you're meant to
Mm,
live.
exactly. And finding that true happiness and fulfillment through
Yeah.
expressing your unique voice and your unique message.
And you keep finding it, right? It never stops, where you're like, no, like you discover new layers, and maybe they'll translate into just life decisions. Maybe you'll move to the countryside from the city, but maybe they will translate into beautiful offshoots in your business and offerings as well.
I love that. I love that. So, for anyone that is listening and that is really ready to find their voice, I have a lot of women in my audience that are really on that path because I teach a lot about the witch
Yeah.
wound and how, as women, we were kept silent and that wound is
Yeah.
really in the throat. How can they connect with you? How can they work with you? How do you support women?
Yeah, so the best place to connect with me is Instagram. So definitely give me a follow, and send me a DM. I love connecting personally also with my followers. I think something I'm really proud is that I've really built a business based on intimacy and connection. and that we're scaling, but now, but always keeping that in mind. So they can definitely follow me on Instagram. Also go on my website. There's a freebie that's called Seven Figure Visibility Blueprint, which is really about, it's not a blueprint, but it's really about building a business a different way, a way based on your voice, taking into consideration your emotions, doing content and marketing in a whole different way, and doing selling in a whole different way, in a way that's transformative and consensual and really grounded and really elevating for you and for the client. So that's a great place to start. And then in terms of working with me, I have offerings for different people at different stages. So at the higher level, in my one-on-one program called Revolution, where the R is in parentheses, so it's both a revolution and an evolution. It's really about reaching that next level. It's usually for women business owners who build success in their business, with a lot of hustle, with a lot of masculine energy, like we've all done at some point. And they're ready. They have kind of like, I'm kind of like a big energy person. So they're kind of like big energy, whatever that looks like for them. But they know that they have more to offer and more to create, and are ready to really step into the next level of visibility, taking up more space, being willing to be seen at a whole new level,
Mm.
going out into the world with a unified message that they can really leverage for more time freedom, more location freedom, more money, and really start to get known for that message as well. Whether, a lot of my clients at their higher level for one-on-one, they want to scale to multiple six figures or seven figures, but also be known as a thought leader, create something that really lasts, that they get known for.
Yeah.
But I also, if someone is not at that stage yet, or like they don't want one-on-one, or they don't feel ready for that, I have also a very potent mastermind that it's going to start probably in October, called Unleash the Mastermind. It's my signature program to really find the voice, find the unifying message, and start sharing that into the world. For a lot of women who sign up, it's about sharing on social media or content marketing, but it's really beyond that. First of all, because it has impact in your day-to-day life as well, and really changes your relationships at a radical level. But it's really about learning to speak up for yourself, advocate for yourself, really learning to stand for something and let that shine through you. And then if you want to write a book, or if you want to start a YouTube channel or do a signature talk, that's the foundational piece that's needed. So, and then I also have like lower level courses, like my membership, to really practice visibility in a safe container over a year, so that because sometimes we want to be visible, but our nervous system doesn't feel safe.
Mm.
So we need more time. Instead of like, I wanted containers that were kind of like, we're getting shit done, and also containers that were more gentle, where it's like, okay, you have to get used to visibility, you have to get used to experimenting maybe with different messages. So I wanted a container that was like that. And that's my membership program, the Soulful Spotlight Collective.
I love that. Many beautiful offerings serving the world,
Yeah.
helping us reconnect with our voice. That this work is so needed. So I am so glad that you're leading that
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah. Thank you. And so glad that I could share.
Thank you so much, Claudia, for coming on the Secret Roots
Thank you.
podcast. I can see many of the women who are going to listen. I can see them with their big paper starting to write all their words, find their voice. If you do, share it with Claudia.
Yeah.
Tag her on Instagram, because it's always really nice to see when our work is landing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely share with me. Thank you so much for having me on.